Welcome to a Club PF webinar. This one's for the month of February 2024. I'm with a longtime friend, former colleague at HubSpot, Andrew Kaplan. Andrew, what's going on, my friend?
Part of the early team, dude.
Early team, very early team. So, product-led growth, it's one of these things that. So, actually, let me ask you this question really quick. Do you know, because I don't know the answer, but do you know the answer of like when did product-led growth officially get coined?
I hate this question. I kind of hate the term product-led growth
Oh,
because I feel like it's like this name that put a label on things that people were doing for a while. I think it was probably 2015, 2016-ish. I think it was OpenView, if I was to guess. But freemium had been a while. It had been around for a while. Like MailChimp was freemium. I was at Wistia for a while. They were freemium. I think it took OpenView to put the like guardrails around it.
yeah, I mean, HubSpot made the very conscientious, deliberate decision. What was it, like 2014, 15 to say like we need to disrupt how we basically sell. And they said, hey, I think they actually used Box as an example or Dropbox. It was a Dropbox, right, Andrew?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about how to maybe disrupt yourself, or maybe how to disrupt yourself if you're doing PLG today, because it's changed. There's a lot of changes in the last 10, 15 years around this concept. So you got so much good content. I'll have you do an intro in a moment. We can dive into some of the stuff. We can kind of zig and zag depending on where we want to go and what people think. But it's this idea of taking product-led growth, which is all about, in its most purest form, touchless sales. Like you don't need to talk to a human. You try the product out, you sign up, you swipe your credit card, you're good, done, sweet. Balancing that with no, I need to qualify you, do discovery on you, gate the demo, gate all these things, right, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean that's the dream, right? The dream is the touch the sale, and the reality is the other stuff that typically happens. And then there's this sort of tension on trying to balance the two, and let's poke at it a little bit.
Let's do it. So yeah, why don't you do a quick set of the table, what we're going to cover today. We'll zig and zag though, depending on what people want to do, and then do a quick intro, and then we can just get into it.
Yeah, sounds good. We can keep it fluid. So we'll talk about what good PLG looks like, and specifically the intersection of sales-led and self-service motions. I kind of call this the hybrid model. I think there's been a lot of confusion around like what PLG is, like what it isn't, and how it works with sales teams. So we'll poke at all that stuff, talk about a few key principles, a bunch of examples. I'll share a few stories from my past, a bunch of screenshots as we go here.
Let's go do it. I love it. You
Cool.
have a ton of good examples in this deck, which is amazing. People listening, you're gonna want to just stick around for all the great examples and almost like stories from Andrew's rich history in PLG.
Thank you. Well, I just feel like there's no point in having just information in an academic vacuum. I try to show real life examples so people can get a feel for what it looks like in the wild.
Love it.
So we'll structure today around kind of three core principles. The first one will be quick, which is why is it important to do this hybrid motion? How does it help us scale further than without it? We'll talk about segmentation, which is really a key in my experience to scaling this hybrid motion and balancing the two funnels. And then obviously the nuts and bolts of how sales-led works in conjunction in a self-serve environment. Cool. And so I'm Andrew. Mark already shared. I was early at HubSpot. He and I think, joined around the same time. I was employee number 200 or so. We had a lot of fun there and saw what high growth looked like on the inside. And then since then, I've gone off and learned a little bit more about what has become called product-led growth. I joined Wistia, which is a video marketing software company. I started and scaled a cross-functional growth team there. That company acquired hundreds of thousands of free users and tens of thousands of paid customers with no sales team. So it's like a really interesting e-commerce environment.
Hmm.
And then I went to another company called Postscript. It's their 10th hire, also head of growth, which has gone on to become one of the largest apps in the Shopify ecosystem, another product-led business. Now I'm on my own. I run my own business called Delivering Value, where I coach people that have my former job leading growth teams, and I advise product-led SaaS companies to help them grow faster. Outside of the SaaS cloud world, I'm a dad. I got a 3-year-old. I got another one on the way in June. I'm a husband, and I'm really into woodworking. Like, I know it's a funny juxtaposition, but when I'm not in the cloud, I really like working with my hands. So that's what I'm
Love
about.
that. That's so good. We could do a whole session just woodworking. I love that.
I just moved in early January, and so it's nice because it like reset all the projects that I have around the house. I was kind of running out of projects at my old spot.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I'm not a huge woodworker. I mean, I'm dangerous, but I got friends, like two friends that are just crazy about it. And yeah, it's just like the way you have your shop set up and, the techniques you use and the types of wood you like to work with. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's like it's a whole community, a whole subculture.
For sure.
So do you want to bounce around or should we just rock it here?
Let's start with the why. I always, me, like why, how, what to some degree. Like let's focus on the why and set the table.
Cool. All right, let's do that. So just move my little Zoom window here. All right.
No problem.
And so you kind of talked about it. Like this is the dream state at PLG. Somebody visits your website, they sign up for whatever the thing is that they can sign up for. Hopefully they use it in a meaningful way and get some value. And then they pull out their credit card and swipe it. And ideally, it doesn't stop there. Ideally, they continue to either upgrade in between plans or expand their usage over time. This is the dream. It's never this simple, right? Like it's easy to put it on the slide. And what I have learned makes this less simple is maybe the story that I learned during my time at Wistia, I guess is what helped me to understand the need for this hybrid motion outside of these 5 tiles here. Let me explain a little bit more. So when I was at Wistia, I shared it, video marketing software company. I was there for about 4.5 years, early to the freemium motion. They had a freemium, I think back in 2012. And so by the time I joined the company in 2015, they already had hundreds of thousands of free accounts. They had tens of thousands of paying customers and literally 0 people working in sales, 100% touchless e-commerce, high volume, relatively low average revenue per customer environment. And it was dope. Like as a marketer coming from a traditional inside sales driven environment, I was like, wow, this is an incredible model. And something really interesting happened. I thought that this was the future of SaaS, was that SaaS was going to become e-commerce, and this was the validation for me. But something interesting started happening at some point along the line. And what happened is that people were raising their hands, asking for help. And they would write into customer service because that was the only place they could write in, but they weren't asking about their account or about their plan or troubleshooting stuff. They were asking basic questions, some of them on the free product, about how does this part of the tool work? And do you think it would work for this use case? And other folks were asking like more complicated stuff about integrations and like customizations. And some even said like, I'd like to build your product. I'd like to white label your product and build it into my platform. Could we talk? And other folks would explicitly ask to speak with sales. So it's kind of fascinating. Like we tried not to have a sales team. At some point, we just had members of the customer success team that were doing sales-like questions. And we realized that's stupid. So we decided that sales would be helpful. And then the question became, how do you do both? Like if we're a self-service freemium business, but we have a sales team, are we no longer self-serve? And we knew we didn't probably want or have the volume of sales reps to send every new account to our inside sales team, but we weren't sure how to identify who. Those were the things that led me down this journey. And what I've learned is that most mature modern day PLG companies or most modern day SaaS businesses usually run some flavor of this, right? There's a self-service motion, there's a sales motion, and then there's some overlap kind of in between. So that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what we're going to explore a little bit deeper. And that's how I learned that it's not one or the other, that you kind of need both of these to grow. And the real challenge is how do you grow total revenue without just shifting money from your self-service to your sales pocket or vice versa? How do you grow total revenue without just converting folks who would have already bought on their own or underserving people that need a custom one-to-one motion? So that's kind of the nature of the beast here.
No, I love this. And to me, we talk, as you know, a lot about like this idea of people first go to market. How do you make a go to market strategy, but then subsequently the experience match to how people buy today? And we talked a lot about that kind of concept at HubSpot, but it's even changed since then, right? We talked about inbound. Inbound is one component of people first go to market. You can think of it as, I almost call it like content-led growth now. What we failed to recognize at HubSpot, because the technology probably wasn't fully there, was gating everything with a form wasn't very people first, because it became very annoying over time. And now the transition from forms to signals is interesting. And I think PLG is one of the early places from a SaaS standpoint or a business model standpoint that gives you great signals right? Outside of your traditional sales team signals that the salesperson would collect. But now it's the person using the free product, using the free tool, whatever they're doing through their kind of, you get them to sign up through their activation to hopefully, longer term retention. Those signals can probably be a great source of buying intent for your sales team. Is this kind of some of the stuff you're going to talk about now, Andrew, a little bit? Or do you think I get that wrong?
It's huge. So you can use the product for intent. And if you wanted, there's even some really advanced stuff that isn't going to be in here, but we can talk about at the end, which is you can even ungate part of your product, do something like a self-service interactive demo, and use that intent data to segment, to retarget, to do all kinds of stuff, right? So that's the name of the game here.
Yeah, we talk about that in Club PF. Yeah, it comes up almost every week or two around this idea of interactive demos that are not fully gated. Like, let's try to get to that for sure. I know you have, though, on the next couple slides here, you have now a new visual, this one size doesn't fit all approach, but then like instead of that just a linear track, it splits out a little bit. Yeah. Do you want to just kind of unpack that a bit?
Yeah. Do you want to just jump there?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Because if not, I'm going to get into segmentation and the role that segmentation plays in this future world, but we can loop back to it.
Yeah, let's loop back.
So let's do this. So let's talk about like the nuts and bolts, of how it works. All right, still seeing the slides?
Yeah, we see it now, yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about how we tie it together. What does the actual hybrid funnel look like? So I'm going to use colors for the next couple of slides here. Yellow is going to be your sales-led motion. Blue is going to be your self-service motion. And we're going to talk about how to integrate.
And hold on one sec. As you go about talking with this, Derek has a question that's, I think, relevant to everything you're going to say now. He asks, does this model, the overlapping circles, the hybrid approach, also apply when the company has a PLG product that's 10K, say, and an enterprise B2B product of 100K?
Yeah. Yes. Although, is that the same product in this example, Derek? Like, is it the same product and a different tier, like different packaging and pricing? Or is it like product A and then a totally different product?
Yeah, different products. Product. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you can have, let me just think about that for a second. I think if you have totally different products, I think you could have ways that one becomes a feeder for the other using like intent data and kind of like typical product-led segmentation and activation and engagement principles, I think could help you to grow either revenue within existing plans or increase the likelihood that someone upgrades from plan 1 to plan 2. But I think for folks that are coming in your enterprise B2B product for 100K, probably that's your sales-led first model with maybe some components of product-led as a nurturing activity. That's like what I've seen. Go ahead, Mark.
Yo, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's what I've seen most common for big enterprise level businesses that like want to do PLG. What I have learned is that when you launch like a free trial or a free motion or whatever it is, it ends up being that someone's in the sales process, like kind of disengages in the sales process, engages in the self-service thing, and then comes back to the sales-led process. So I've seen it to be a nurturing activity more so than a revenue generating standalone activity at that price point.
I definitely have seen that too. He says it's different, but complementary products. I actually think this is where interactive demos can make a big difference too. So we'll get to that as well. But like, I think that's like the marriage, you know?
Yeah, for sure. All right. So we got yellow, which is sales-led, blue, which is self-serve. And we're going to talk about how these play together. So this, I'm going to oversimplify because it's easy to complicate and it's harder to simplify. So if we think about the traditional sales-led experience, it's some flavor of this. Somebody's on your site, they sign up for some type of sales-led offer, a demo, a price quote, maybe they click the get in touch button, something like that. There's some qualification on the marketing and then on the sales side, maybe there's an opportunity stage in there, but at some point, if there's a product-led offer, there's going to be some kind of one-to-one activation experience, hopefully a one-to-one purchase experience, and likely a one-to-one upgrade experience. This is the HubSpot that I worked at back in 2014, whenever Mark, or 2011 to 2014, right? This is kind of the environment that we came from. But when we think about freemium, when I went to Wistia, it looks basically like this, 100% self-service. People would visit the website. This is that e-commerce engine I talked about with a little bit more detail. Someone visits the website, they sign up for the thing, whether it's a free plan or a free trial, reverse free trial, whatever it is. There's some activation journey that happens, helping folks receive value, getting to that aha moment. They can choose to either keep using the product for free forever. They could purchase a paid plan on their own and swipe their credit card. Maybe they do that and upgrade. They could use the free plan for a while and upgrade 2 years down the road. That's kind of the magic of freemium. So we have this self-service funnel, our sales funnel. And then if we combine the two, it's going to look like this, which is, if you want, you can still stay in one of our colors siloed, right? You could sign up in the yellow, just like what we talked about. You could always fill out a price quote or a get in touch request and go through your sales-led motion. You could be allergic to sales and come into the self-service motion and convert that way. No worries there. But there's these three really interesting moments where we can integrate the two experiences that we're going to explore. I'm going to highlight them quickly, and then we're going to go deeper in each, and I'm going to share examples. And if folks have questions, we can go slow. So the three moments are these. The first is based on the offer type. This one's the most straightforward, and we'll talk about it in a second. The second is based on something that you shared during the sign-up process. And there's, I'll share some examples in a second. And then the third is based on some of the stuff you were talking about, Mark, which is your behavior inside of the tool or maybe outside of the tool, some intent data. And so there's these three moments where you go from the self-serve funnel up to the sales funnel, potentially and vice versa. I'm just going to pause if there's any questions or if anything there seems funky. If not, we can go forward and let's talk about examples.
So far, so good. So my question, you can answer now or just later, would be, how do you then take this idea? I mean, you're gonna say you implement it, because it doesn't seem too complicated. I mean, it's complicated once you get into the weeds, but how do you make sure sales understands the motions and like how they play into this? Like, how do you educate sales
on what to do and how to go about it?
Exactly. Like, what are you seeing that has worked basically in that regard?
And so just for context, are we talking about teaching sales reps who are coming from traditional sales-led environments, or are we thinking a new sales rep joining this type of modern hybrid approach? They're just new to the company. The motion's already ramped up.
I would say someone who's more traditional and has typically only ever followed up with the demo request, the hand raise, explicit hand raise done outbound, right? They don't know a lot of outbound. How do you make sure that sales understands how to help these leads? Because to me, this is a very consultative model. To your point with Wistia, people are saying, I need help. They don't want to be sold. They want help using the product, maybe, or something like to that regard.
Yeah. It's a great question. So I think part of it, although we skipped over the segmentation, a lot of it comes down to segmentation and understanding folks a little bit more about them. So if we go back here and we think about if there was no sales team, there would be a bunch of segmentation happening once somebody signs up. We want to learn stuff about people and then show them different things and help them in different ways based on what we learn about them. And this is what good sales reps do if there was no product-led experience, right? It's like you get on the phone with a sales rep before they go into autopilot on the demo. They'd ask you questions about you and your background and your company and your goals and your timeline and all that. And then they would customize their presentation to meet your needs. And that's kind of what we want to do in this product-led environment. We want to identify some key things that we think are going to help either in a one-to-one or one-to-many motion, and then make sure that we're arming whatever conversion lever we have. So in this case, if somebody's signing up and we're integrating them into the sales experience, we want to make sure that we're sending the right signals into the CRMs where the sales reps are hanging out. We want to make sure that we share those goals, those jobs to be done, maybe the levels of experience that somebody signs up with, so that the sales rep is enabled to continue them along that journey. So I think it's making sure the data is in the right place, education on what the journey is, are probably the two building blocks that you could riff off of.
I love it. All right. So then finish this up, go through the examples, and then let's go back to segmentation.
Yeah. Cool. So we talked about these three key moments. Let's explore them a little bit more. So when we think about the offer type, so when somebody signs up, they get to control the experience that they sign up for. If they sign up and they just prefer to engage with the sales team, there's typically a few offers, even in product-led environments, where they can engage, right? A price quote, get in touch, guided demos, etc. Or if they don't want that, which plenty of folks do, or don't, excuse me, they can sign up for a product-led offer. And that's where your free plan, free trial, maybe a reverse free trial, ungated demo, those would all be in that bucket. They can engage, they can go deeper, and they don't have to talk to someone.